How is that relevant to a tax bill, Senator Xenophon?
Chair, I'm happy to address that, if you would.
If you would, because it is a valid point. Sure. We've made a point of saying this inquiry should address the terms of reference, and I think that applies to the senators as much as the witnesses.
For the benefit of the rest of the committee here, my view is that it is relevant for a number of reasons. Firstly, in order to determine whether the issue of a public benefit, this legislation is based on the approach of the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom, in a decision in relation to the public benefit test, made reference to how open and how public the benefit was, and it made specific reference to the auditing session. So that's why I've drawn on a decision made on an approach that is similar to the approach envisaged in this legislation.
Well, thank you. Perhaps you should have said that in your preamble to the question.
Perhaps I should have, Chair, and I apologise.
So please, I think that's, in that case, a relevant question.
Actually, Senator, could you please ask it again? I've got lost on all of the back
and
forth.
Of course, Ms. Stewart.
Yeah.
Should the auditing sessions carried out by the Church of Scientology be regarded as a public benefit? I think there's been, there's a view that they're a cross between personal counselling and male self-criticism. That's one view that has been given. And even if they provide a benefit to the individual paying for them, because payment is involved, as I understand it, how is this a public benefit? And I note that this was one of the factors that was looked at by the Charity Commission in the United Kingdom in its decision on the 17th of November 1999.
Well, Senator, first one thing is on the 1999 issue in the UK Charities Commission that you were talking about, they since have come out with a law that's passed, and we believe that under the UK, the new law, that that decision will be reversed. That's one point. Secondly, I think that when in the 1999, there now is legislation after that point. 2006. So in 2006, there's legislation that was passed.
Well, that was seen as a codification, I think, of the earlier law.
And that codification is quite different, and it was. I'm not an expert on this matter, and actually we could provide some information to you afterwards on that. We have legal opinions on that 1999 UK decision. But on the question of our religious counselling and auditing, I put to you that those comments by former members are not shared or held by the large majority of Scientologists who love their religion and love receiving religious services, and for them very much so a public benefit. One, because it makes them a better person, it makes them a better individual, and in terms of spirituality and increased spirituality and gains, Scientology works on the principle that by increasing your spiritual awareness you will then come to understand and know God as you move further along. And from the point of view of their opinion as compared to the opinions of courts, this matter has been taken up in courts all around the world, throughout Europe and the United States, and particularly with the IRS. They found that our religious courses and counselling were of public benefit. The same has been found in New Zealand, and also many religious scholars have studied Scientology in great depth, and they don't have an axe to grind, really, and so they, in my view, have come up with some quite definitive decisions along religious scholar principles of our religious services and the public benefit that they give.
But you do charge for the auditing sessions, don't you?
Yes, but it forms the basis of our donation, so we don't tithe. The Church of Scientology has no outside business. We don't operate any not any secular type of activity that in turn gives us money from which to operate our church.
But you can't. Auditing sessions, I think you've said, are for the spiritual well-being of its followers.
That's correct.
But that comes at a cost.
Not always, Senator.
No, I think that's right.
I think that's a very key point. Is, the aim of a Scientologist is to be a counsellor and to learn to deliver this religious counselling to others, and to also receive it and give it. And if you wish to receive it in a professional capacity, we do request a donation, because that is how Scientologists wanted to contribute to their church. So if you're not an active sort of Scientologist, you're not receiving a service, then your church doesn't require a donation from you. So it's equitable in terms of donations. Those who use the church's services the most There's many services that the church has for which no donation is requested.
Can I just go to this issue of fair game with you, Ms. Stewart, which I know...
Senator, I think that definitely is outside the terms of reference.
No, well, if I, perhaps as a preamble for the Chair, if I can indicate that that in terms of public benefit and detriment, there was the Scientology website refers to fair game as being cancelled in 1968, which was a policy of basically targeting those who are against Scientology. There was a doctrine of fair game, wasn't there, from 1965? In 1965, is that right, Ms. Stewart?
Senator, I don't actually know any specifics of dates, to be honest. What I can say is that the definition of fair game, which I feel is definitely outside the terms of reference, and I would be very happy to take that on notice and present something in writing to the Senate to specifically address those claims with documentation and evidence.
So fair game doesn't apply?
Absolutely not. I've been a member of, I've worked for the church for 22 years. I've never heard of it, never seen it. The only place I've heard of it is in the media, and it's used really to marginalise us. I'm concerned about time constraints, so perhaps we could do that. But if I could ask you, Ms. Stewart, that for an organisation to obtain a tax-free status, as has been suggested in this bill, that there needs to be a public benefit, if an organisation was systemically involved in activities that harmed individuals, or there was coercion or abuses, and again, I want to put this in general terms, so I just want to make that clear, would that be something that would concern you in terms of general principles as to whether that organisation should have a tax-free status? If I could have Mike Ferriss answer that question, Senator.
First
I'll
of all,
get you to respond as well, Ms. Stewart, but
sure.
Go ahead, Mr. Ferriss.
First of all, there's a couple of points that you've raised. One, you say the word systemic, and the allegations and claims and so forth are not systemic in the Church of Scientology. And you have to be very careful about what is being alleged and what is being claimed, because the Church has provided a lot of information to the Senate in writing, which is available, and we know it's here, and it does answer many of those allegations, as Ms. Stewart said earlier. The other point is, this is not...
Sorry, Mr. Ferriss, is a general principle. If an organisation, again I'll put in the generalities, if an organisation was involved in what could be seen as human rights abuses, of cover-ups, of telling people not to go to the authorities if there's evidence of criminal activity, are those things that you think would be relevant in determining a public benefit test?
Yes, they clearly are, and they should apply to the Catholic Church as well as the Anglican Church. I think the former Governor-General had to stand down, didn't he, over allegations in the Anglican Church. There's currently an enormous amount of hoo-ha about the Catholic Church. Are you going to ask the same questions of them, Senator Xenophon?
He doesn't.
It was a general question.
Good.
Yeah. It was a general question, actually.
Sure.
Or do you endorse Ms. McBride's views, which...
And essentially, is it the actions of individuals that these claims are about? And that would have to be determined. I'm saying it's not systemic. And again, there'd have to be evidence and so forth that would substantiate those claims. Yeah.
I think I won't take it any further, actually. And finally, Ms. Stewart, just something that I find quite curious. If you believe in freedom of religion, why is it that the texts of Scientology are strictly copyrighted, so that, you know, the views of Scientology are strictly protected by copyright laws? I find that if you want to get a Bible or a Quran or other religious texts, you can get them either for free or virtually for free.
Well, Senator...
But you can see my point about the issue of
definitely.
copyright.
Just one thing. I don't think copyright has anything to do with the materials being provided for free. We provide ample of our materials for free to anybody who wishes them. We put books in libraries. You can download them off the internet. I don't think that connected. The issue of copyright is essentially one of religious philosophy, and I think the Bible, as an example, is excellent because the Bible has undergone massive changes. Depends who wants to write it, which section they want to put in. We don't know the true text of what Jesus says.